Okay, guys, so this news came out about a week ago. Originally, we were going to talk about it on the Hit the Bricks live stream last week. We just didn't get around to it. But this article comes to us by way of John Squires over at Bloody Disgusting. The headline reads, "The Descent prequel? Neil Marshall floats the idea of returning to monster-infested caves." So, yeah, we're coming up on like 20 years of The Descent, which was such a surprise to me the very first time I saw it. It really put me there. I felt claustrophobic as all get out. And I loved the way it was sort of a slow burn. In a way, the original Descent reminded me of Jaws, in that you didn't get a full look of the creature until you're like 2/3 through the movie. There's little flashes that you have to have a keen eye to see, but once you see it, it is just this shock. And then it's got this Evil Dead type, amount of blood, and just it's so visceral and so good. I love the original Descent. I couldn't even make it through like 45 minutes of the sequel, so that's all I'll say about that. But this news of a prequel has me somewhat intrigued, so let's check out the article and see what we got. So it kicks off with John Squires saying, "I'll never forget seeing The Descent on the big screen for the very first time, but one thing I'd like to forget is that my memorable theater experience took place a full 20 years ago. Yes, Neil Marshall's creature feature turns the big 2-0 this year, which doesn't seem right, but it's true. The movie came out in US theaters in 2005. Where the hell does the time go?" The masterful first film was followed by the less than stellar The Descent Part 2 in 2009, but Marshall didn't return to direct that one. All these years later, does he have any interest in heading back down into the caves and battling those horrifying monsters one more time? Chatting with Metro this week, Neil Marshall noted that he can, quote, "definitely see it happening," end quote, while also casually throwing out the idea of someday making a prequel to The Descent. Marshall explains, quote, "It's something I think would be good to wrap up the story. So many other franchises have been exploited over the years, but nothing has really happened with The Descent. I've got a few ideas. The trend seems to be prequels. I was always interested in finding out what happened to the miners who went down with the cave first." Speaking of The Descent, the official novelization of Neil Marshall's movie is being released this coming October, and you guys can click on this link here to read an exclusive excerpt and pre-order your copy now. And then they go into the synopsis of the film. I won't scroll any farther. For anyone that hasn't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil that image of the creature there. But this is interesting because, guys, usually I'm really not into prequels for the most part, right? Because a lot of times prequels just give us information we already know. I mean, even the Star Wars prequels, it's just like, oh, this is how this person got this item, or, we don't need to see romances happen that we already know the full story for and all that kind of stuff. But in this case, where it would be a prequel that would, be a period piece, and you would see, an original, or, one of the original encounters of a group of people dealing with these creatures down in the cave, I think that could be pretty interesting. And especially if Neil Marshall is the one to helm it, because I love the original so much. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. If you're watching live, let me know what you think of The Descent and how you feel about a possible prequel. And if you're watching after the fact, jump on into the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts, and make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share the channel with someone who you think would dig this kind of content. And guys, make sure the notification bell is hit, because we cover horror movie news here on the Davey Deathray channel all the time, and you don't want to miss a thing.